A Belgian Malinois named Koda completed his 12,473rd security patrol at 3:14 a.m. on a Thursday morning in October of 2041. He did not know it was the 12,473rd. He only knew that the hallway needed checking, and the kitchen window needed checking, and the back door needed checking, and then the front door, and then the hallway again. He had been doing this every night for 10 years and 7 months. His handler, a man named Marcus Reyes, 51 years old, a retired Army staff sergeant, was asleep in the bedroom Koda had just passed. Marcus did not know Koda was patrolling. He had never known. He thought the dog slept through the night, the way dogs are supposed to sleep. The collar Koda wore, a slim trauma monitoring device issued by the VA's Canine Partnership Program, had been recording everything. And when a research coordinator named Dr. Yolanda Vega pulled the data for a routine 10-year review, she sat at her desk in Phoenix for 11 minutes without moving. Then she called Marcus Reyes and asked if she could come to Tucson. This is not science fiction. Dogs have been sensing human distress for as long as dogs have existed, but the science of how they do it and what it costs them is barely 40 years old. In 1997, a researcher named Bonne Beerda at Utrecht University published the first systematic study of canine stress markers, cataloging the physiological signatures, cortisol spikes, heart rate variability, specific behaviors like lip-licking and yawning, that indicate a dog is not at ease. In 2012, researchers at the University of Vienna demonstrated that dogs can smell human cortisol, the hormone released during stress, and that they respond to it with measurable changes in their own bodies. In 2018, a study at Queen's University Belfast confirmed that dogs can detect human psychological stress through scent alone, with accuracy rates above 90%. The dogs were not guessing. They were reading us, chemically, in real time. The military understood this before the research confirmed it. By 2008, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs had begun pairing combat veterans diagnosed with PTSD with specially trained service dogs. The dogs were trained to interrupt nightmares, to create physical space in crowds, to sense the onset of a panic attack before the veteran consciously registered it. They were, in effect, external nervous systems, living biofeedback devices that could feel what their handlers could not yet feel and respond before the crisis arrived. What nobody asked, for a long time, was what this work did to the dogs themselves. Marcus Reyes and Koda served together in Afghanistan from 2029 to 2031. Koda was a military working dog, trained in explosive detection. Marcus was his handler. They completed 214 patrols together. On patrol 187, an IED detonated 40 meters ahead of their convoy. No one was killed. But Marcus came home with a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder, and Koda came home with something nobody had a name for. The VA enrolled them in the Canine Partnership Program in 2032. They issued Koda a collar. They told Marcus to come back for annual checkups. For 10 years, Marcus came back. For 10 years, the collar recorded. And for 10 years, nobody looked at the full data because nobody had built the tools to read it. The tools arrived in 2039. A collaboration between the VA, Texas A&M's Veterinary College, and a small AI lab in Austin produced the first canine trauma pattern model. A machine learning system trained on 10 years of service dog collar data, capable of detecting not just stress events, but chronic stress patterns, sleep disruptions, and behavioral signatures that no human observer would notice. The model could read a dog's emotional history the way a cardiologist reads an EKG. It could see what the dog had been carrying. And when Dr. Vega ran Koda's data through the model, she saw something that made her drive 2 hours to Tucson on a Thursday morning. What the data showed was this. Every night at approximately 3 a.m., Koda woke from sleep, left his bed in the corner of Marcus's room, and walked a precise circuit through the house. Hallway, kitchen, back door, front door, hallway. The circuit took between 4 and 6 minutes. His heart rate elevated slightly during the patrol and returned to baseline only after he lay back down. He had been doing this every single night for 10 years and 7 months. He had never missed a night. The pattern was not random. It was not restlessness. It was the exact patrol pattern he had walked in Afghanistan, scaled down to fit a 1,200-square-foot house in Tucson, Arizona. Koda had never stopped being on duty. He had simply moved the perimeter. Here is the part that made Dr. Vega drive to Tucson. The collar did not only record Koda's stress, it recorded the timing. And when she overlaid Koda's nightly cortisol patterns against Marcus's, estimated from his own VA wearable, which he had worn for 5 years, the correlation was almost perfect. On nights when Marcus's stress markers spiked, Koda's spiked first, by 11 to 14 minutes, every time, for 5 years. The dog was not merely responding to his handler's distress. He was anticipating it. He was waking before the nightmare began. He was walking the perimeter so that when Marcus woke, afraid, in a dark house, the house had already been checked. The house had already been cleared. The dog had already done the work that the man's sleeping mind could not do. Marcus Reyes did not speak for a long time after Dr. Vega showed him the data. He looked at the charts. He looked at the patrol map. He looked at the correlation graphs, the twin waveforms rising and falling together like two heartbeats trying to become one. Then he looked at Koda, who was lying at his feet the way he had been lying at his feet for 10 years, and he said, very quietly, "I thought I was the one taking care of you." This is the thing the data could not show. Not the patrol, not the correlation, not the years of silent, invisible labor. The thing the data could not show was what it meant to Koda, whether he was tired, whether he was afraid, whether he had ever, in 10 years of 3 a.m. circuits through a house in Arizona, wondered why the war had not ended. The model could read his stress. It could not read his heart. But Marcus, sitting on the floor of his hallway with his hand on his dog's neck, did not need a model. He knew. He had always known, in the way that handlers know. He had just not known how to say it until someone showed him the shape of it on a screen. The VA offered to retire Koda from the monitoring program. The data collection was complete. The research objectives had been met. Marcus could return the collar, and Koda could live out his remaining years as an ordinary dog, unburdened by the small blinking light that had recorded his devotion for a decade. Marcus thought about it for 3 days. Then he called Dr. Vega and asked if he could keep the collar. Not for the data, not for the research. Because Koda had carried Marcus through 10 years of nights, and Marcus wanted someone somewhere to know. He wanted the record to exist. He wanted the world to remember that his dog had never stopped serving, even when no one was watching, even when no one had asked. Some debts are too large to repay. Some loves are too quiet to name. What Koda gave Marcus was not protection. It was presence. The assurance every night for 10 years that someone was awake in the dark, someone was walking the perimeter, someone was standing between him and the thing he feared. The dog had not been hiding the truth. He had been carrying it. And now that Marcus knew, the weight was lighter for both of them. Not gone, lighter, shared. Every tomorrow leaves an echo. Some echoes are made of the patrols no one ever saw. We will be listening for the next one. Next on Echoes of Tomorrow, the last humanly who remembered how to tie a knot.